Caddis Maximus here, this time with a review of the Harbor Freight Icon reversible stubby ratcheting box wrench set. We're doing the 10-piece metric set this time. I know I had said I was not going to do more Icon reviews for a long time. I need to get these out of my system. I had actually picked these up along with those other Icon tools I had already reviewed, so I just need to get through them. Actually, a set that I didn't have, which was stubby ratcheting box wrenches. There are magical coupons I believe they send to ITC club members, which are 10% off any item, no exclusions. And you can use that to bring these down to at least 108, but they're pretty expensive. That's right in line with a lot of other competition. And there's many more off-mark brands now that are selling, like on Amazon, all sorts of ratcheting box wrench sets. Some of these sets are $50. So Harbor Freight's really trying to bank on the fact that they're going to warranty these little ratcheting box wrenches. Overall, they're not too bad. Let's take a closer look at them here. Reversible, pretty solid switch on these. Single pawl design because we can see how the wrench end, the little equivalent socket, is rotating when we switch it. And of course, that's the only way they could do it in something this small. This is actually assembled. The pawl is compressed, and then they snap in the little socket. So these are not disassemblable. They do have a pretty long switch. It is pretty easy to hit, although I do worry a little bit. They may have made too much compromise, making it easy to flip, because that also means that it's going to be a little bit easier to get broken and damaged. These being wrenches really will be just tossed into the bottom of toolboxes, and so it's something to really be to have a consideration of. Also, one thing I was noticing on these is there's actually quite a bit of play, and you can really suck that switch in and out quite a bit. And so that was a little bit disappointing, just because I have these old American-made Craftsman. Craftsman still sells these wrenches. They're not American-made, and they are not as good as these old ones. But at least on the old Craftsmans, we can see that when you get a ratcheting wrench, you could really expect to have a switch that's nice and tight. So that'd be my first comment. Sizing seems to be pretty good. I measured the open end here. It appears to be 14.18 millimeters. And I've mentioned earlier that wrenches such as these Blackhawks here are like on this 14 or 14.15 millimeters. Blackhawks are tighter. And I got this as a 12-piece set of non-reversible flex head. And I think I paid around $100 or something on eBay, maybe $120. I kind of impulse bought these because they're on the shelf. And I can admit, it's pretty rare to find wrenches like this on the shelf. One thing I was also going to mention here is that if we can get the camera to focus, the Icons use a pretty thin box compared to these Blackhawks, which use a nice wide area just for a little bit more strength. The Icons will get into a tighter space, but they're going to be more of a chance of rounding things out. It's not a big deal on a Stubby, but I'm suspecting that the normal length wrenches will have the same thickness ahead, and that is something to mention. Also, at this time, it does not appear that Harbor Freight's going to be selling anything beyond what is this 10 through 19 millimeter set. There won't be any additional set building or expansion, which is something a little bit disappointing. Harbor Freight's coming out with these Icon tools, but they're really still pretty limited sets. Even though there's no skip in this set, you're not going to be able to get a 9 millimeter or an 8 millimeter or maybe a 20 through 24 millimeter. A little bit disappointing. I guess if they gauge if there's enough demand for it, they may do it. But as we've known from Harbor Freight many times, when it comes with the hand tools, they've decided on the range that they're going to go for however many years it is. And that's kind of what you're stuck with. So inevitably, if you want to expand and set build beyond this, it's going to be with different brand tools. Socket or head play is pretty decent. It's pretty tight, and that's the way it is on most of these. So I've definitely been pretty satisfied that way. Back drag is also more than reasonable. It feels solid. You got to have a pretty solid ratchet mechanism in these box wrenches. They're so easy to damage, and it feels like they have a real nice compromise here. Overall, I think, I'm happy with these because half of it was an impulse buy. But if I had a little bit more patience and was willing to order something, I think I would have taken a chance on some of those sets that are on Amazon, because you can basically get a set of these and a set of long handles for about the same price, 120 bucks. You can take a chance on one of the many other tool manufacturers out on Amazon. If they don't work out within the first 30 days, it's free returns, free shipping on the returns, just a little bit of time. So that's something to consider. And I'm kind of wondering why Harbor Freight didn't choose to do that. Why don't they have sets like these that maybe aren't quite as nice as the Icon, but are real complete sets for the $80 range? I think that would have been a little bit better for them. I am going to talk a little bit more about the fit and finish, since I do have this Craftsman American made one out here. Is the fact that, one, I was going to point out that it has a smaller switch. It's still plenty easy to hit, but it's less likely to be accidentally clicked when you're using a box wrench, and many times you'll have your hand over the wrench. The second thing I was going to mention is that we can see on these Craftsmans here that they put just a little, you can see where it looks a little bit more bulbous, where these seem a little bit straighter, and it's just because the Craftsman put a little bit of extra meat right here at the high stress points. So that's one detail. The other detail, which was surprising, I didn't notice until I was just doing the review, but the Icons, if we look, it looks like it was forged as a straight wrench and then is bent. I'm sure the whole forging process was done at once, but it may not have been. But I believe it was, but it just kind of has that feel that it was a straight ratcheting box wrench that has been bent. And what gives you that feeling is when you look at something like this Craftsman, where when it was forged, it comes down and then it just becomes this really thick cross-section, giving you a nice smooth transition on the bottom, just showing that the careful attention to the detail, that this was really intended to be a 15-degree ratcheting wrench, where this just lacks a little bit of that. And when you're getting into more expensive tools like this, and when they're, a lot of the high-quality Taiwanese tools, it's the time that you have to spend looking at the finer details to really see the differences. So overall, I think they're good. Harbor Freight's going to give you a walk-in, I guess, no questions asked warranty if they strip out. But $120 is a lot of money on a normal retail shelf, and I think Harbor Freight's kind of barking up the wrong tree a little bit here. I mean, there is a huge amount of choice in ratcheting wrenches right now on the market, and $120 will get you quite a few of them. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody watching and subscribing, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.